Good morning. Hello. Depending on what time frame you're in, I'm so happy that you got this, whether you're watching it live on Sunday morning or Monday when you're starting your week or wherever you are around the world. Thank you for watching this and make sure that you like and subscribe because I do these weekly and I would love to continue this and keep following it. So, what we're going to talk about today is sort of what happens when we need to manage our minds, when all this invisible stuff is happening and we're not sure what it is about or why it's happening, but it's affecting us, right? So think of invisible stuff that is rocking us, that our mind is going like, whoa, what happened? Okay. So um, let's see. We did our last video on June 2nd, and on the 3rd, we had some solar flares that were in the mid C's and low or high C's and low M's. So what we've been hanging out in is a C class that's low, C1, C2, C3, and then it's hitting up into the 7, 8s, and 9s for a little while, which is bumping us up, which is tapping us on the shoulder, right? So we have had this consistent tapping on the shoulder, tapping on the shoulder. And what I would also say is that it's one thing to go tap, 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 like, hey, are you paying attention? It's quite another thing to have this like this knocking on the door, which is what a C8, C9 is going to do, which is I'm trying to get your attention and I need you to hear me. I need you to focus, right? So on the 5th we had some C9s, some C8s. We had and then we also had these M's. And M again is when the tower moment happens. It's when things start to shake and fall apart and you're like, "Oh, I didn't realize that. Shoot." That's what's going on. So we're losing people, places, and things. We're changing our mind. We're having things fall off of us, right? So we go tap, 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 and then we have this fallout. Tap, 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 and then this fallout. And we've been doing this all week long until Friday, which is when things got kind of interesting. So, before I know I've done this before, but there's a different context that I want to put onto this. First and foremost, when we are getting the tapping, when something is making our body hurt, this is the Osho Zen Princess of Swords or Page of Swords, right? And this is what happens is our mind starts to go, oh, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I can't do this. It hurts. My head hurts. My body hurts. My life. I don't know what to do. And we just want to curl in a ball and we just want to, of course, look at this. We have chimneys of just, steam of horrible things coming out of our body, right? Now, this is what Osho says happens when our mind gets activated and we start taking everything mentally personally, right? What Thoth is going to say is that, I'm going to put this one down and focus on this one, is that what happens is we get activated and we start to take it personally, but we get our sword out and we're like, take that. And I'm going to fight for this and I'm going to engage it. And I'm going to be in that mental process of clearing and removing programming systems, conditioning, but I'm in fight mode. I'm absolutely in fight mode. So, Osho, I'm gonna do it this way. Osho says here, you go a little crazy. This one with the Crowley deck with Thoth is gonna go like, well, then I'm gonna fight. I'm just gonna fight like hell. And what I love is the light seers, which is these are all the same exact cards. And I've done this before, but when we look at what happens when we manage our mind and we don't take it personally, we don't get involved with the things that are swirling around us. Now, the birds could be our thoughts swirling around. We have lots of new ideas that are coming up, getting ready for these X flares, right? And we're balancing on a sword. We're not even worried about it. And I'm going to say, if you have a choice of mental management right now, or whether you're in fight or flight or what's going on, I'm going to say go with the middle one always, right? So that's the context that I want to put on for today, because on the 7th we had 8 M class flares in one day. That's Friday. In addition to that, well, okay, so the M class flares were huge, and then one of them was an M9 points, what was it, 75, and that was at 7:49 p.m. on Friday. So what was happening is we were just moving through up, bump, 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 tower moment, tower moment, tower moment, and we were all feeling something like this going on constantly, right? So, and you can track it through Space Weather Live. You can go on with Pam Youngins on Facebook and you can track these, right? So when we hit that M9.75, we were almost in the X, which is where we open up into the freedom, into the, okay, this is a lot better. This is a lot easier for me. Okay. So that happened on Friday. In addition to that, we had what they call an SPE, a solar proton event. And a solar proton is when all of these protons are just, they're just exuding, and it takes time for them to hit us. So this event takes anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 days for these protons, these CMEs, to sort of hit with us. But we're experiencing this energy shards coming at us, right? Um, that would also talk about that there's a solar radiation storm, and they do solar radiation storms as levels of 1 or 2 or 3. So one's like minor, two is moderate, three is strong, four is like, oh no, and anything about that, right? So we have this geomagnetic activity. So I want to show you on the graph what it actually looks like, because this was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday started to get a little high. Here's all your M's, and then here comes this big M9. And this is what starts to happen in our energy field is when you look at when the red shows up, you're like, oh, okay, I understand that I'm dealing with something that's invisible, that's making my head hurt, that's showing me. And this graph shows me, okay, I feel much better now, because this is a G3 storm on a geomagnetic, and it was an S3 briefly. And when that M9 hit, what happened was it was also a long duration. So it was holding us in this extended state for a long time, right? So of course, I'm going to go to Pam Youngins, and she puts this little like symptoms check in, and she said sinus pressure, headaches. Yup. Spaciness. Yup. Lightheadedness. Yes. And so Friday, no matter how many times I muscle tested, it was like, hey, there's live music going on down the street. Is it my highest interest? No. It's the highest interest to have a glass of wine. No. And these things were just coming in. And finally, it was like, fine, I'll just go sit in the hammock outside and read a book, or just enjoy the quiet. And they're like, yes. Okay, now I know that there's something really big going on the 7th and the 8th, and this morning on the 9th, telling us we have to do something different, right? We have to manage ourselves. And it's about managing these kinds of calls to action and reaction. So I'm going to add one more human here who's been doing some interesting work, and Pam Youngins has been picking him up, and I've been tracking him as well, which is Jason Estes. And he's been measuring sort of the grids and the energy levels on the earth, and you can go read his stuff and find out how he does that. That isn't interesting to me as much as these updates. So what he's been talking about is that we've been coming up as more of us are being able to hold and manage ourselves and actually hold the energy that we have in balance, that that our world is, of course, is changing. So the mental is falling away. The mental things that we are fighting with are falling away, and our bodies are going to reject anything that doesn't align with love and hope and joy. Now, I love that concept. And what he said was that on June 8th, well, prior to June 8th, between June 1st, 2nd, and the 8th, was when we were starting to come up on this rift where we were shifting from fear into love. And I thought, that's an interesting idea. How would I know? And then on the 8th, it was like watching everything that doesn't represent love and joy and hope becoming dissonant, almost unattractive, and creating some of these even inside myself, which was, oh my God, how did I get to this spot? How did I create this? What is going on? Because according to Jason, in the last 2 years, or 200 years, we've been in an energy of fear. So we know how to manage fear, where we're quite proficient at what to do when fear comes in. What we don't know how to do is to love and trust it and work with joy and hope and love instead. So our body needs this, and our mind needs to sort of slowly go away so that we can hold this some more. So we're in this point where we're not making the mind right or wrong. What we're doing is we're saying we need to manage this differently. We need to, of course, recognize that we are taking apart some parts, some things, some lifestyle choices, some partnership choices, some work choices that we've done for years. And now it's time to sort of like let those go, because what we're doing is we're balancing the invisible world with the visible. So the invisible world, the unseen, which is what I've been working with kids and parents and life forever, which is, how do we track some of these quirky behaviors, these reactions, these responses that our kids are having to people, places, and things, and how do we learn tools to be able to adapt to them or change, make it easier for them and get out of conflict, right? Because the invisible, the unseen, is if we trust it, then we can work with it, right? Because what we're doing is we're trusting the invisible more. A lot more of us are. Our intuition, our clairs. We're using, as I said earlier, this yes or no is in my highest interest. My body is a pendulum. My gut instincts, the reaction to say, everything tells me just rest right now, even though I feel like I'm exhausted and tired, and I still am an extrovert that needs attention, needs people, needs music, and it's sunny out and it's 75 degrees finally in Montana. So it's like summer, and I just want to get out there and it's just stay home and rest. Okay. So what we're doing is we're exploring. We're exploring where we've harnessed into the concept of production. We're exploring where we've compromised, where we've made choices, where we've made decisions that have locked us in, whether it's a huge mortgage, a car payment, a marriage, a job where you took a bonus and you're like, and we're feeling the dissonance, right? We're absolutely feeling the dissonance, and we're feeling where we're restricted and where we're expanding, because our outer world is falling apart. Our inner world is getting rich. Okay. So let's just, sort of hold on to that and recognize that the thing that I love the most about these three is that they are the same card in three different decks, and they represent the princess. Now, within the princess energy, it also aligns with Don Miguel Ruiz, which is don't take anything personal. This is what happens when we take things personal and we fall apart. This is what happens when we take things personal and we decide we're going to fight and we're going to take it and you can't tell me that, and how dare you, and we're in the war. This is what happens when we don't take it personal at all. So we become the healers, the lovers, the givers, the mothers, the ones who hold and birth children. We're managing our head, we're managing our mind, and there's this enormous training that goes on. So for those of us who've been working on managing our minds, working on getting these two under some sort of management, it's been difficult for us on such a level. Yet, if you have no management, then you're going to be in here saying, my head hurts, my body hurts, life sucks right now. And all of our vulnerabilities are pulled in, as opposed to going, I'm going to be okay. I've got this. Okay. So I have 5 tips for you today, and I'll go through those and we'll see what happens, right? So first, remember that your brain, which is this detector, this computer, is freaking out right now, right? Your brain's like, wow, what's going on? It's being rocked. It's being shaken. It's seeing things that it doesn't like and it doesn't know what to do. So we want to be very gentle with this mind, with our brain, and realize that it's under duress and that it's worried. or that it needs rest, right? So how do you start to shift over to here, right? So the first thing is remember that your brain is being activated because it's seeing signs that something's not working anymore. That's normal. So we're going to rest it, we're going to calm it, and we're going to take this and we're going to make it much softer, right? And so the idea is to shift into the queen energy, where the brain is just receiving information and flowing with it as opposed to doing this. This is the immature brain. This is the mature brain. Okay. Number two, place your emotions, your water, before your thoughts, right? Before your thoughts. It doesn't go thoughts, emotions, it goes emotions and thoughts. And so when I was teaching tarot, what we did was we went, it starts with fire, which is the spark, and then it goes to emotions. And I have these circles, which is how it pulses. This is where we want to start to put our emotion or our attention, because as we're picking up on things with our field, with our energy, with our intuition, we want to recognize this. We want to acknowledge that you're picking things up energetically and you're aligning with your heart. So the card that I would show you here is the king. So we have the king and queen of hearts in the Osho, and this one's working with the picking up in all of the flow and working with it. And this one's saying stay in your heart and even like quiet your mind, even quiet that instinctual run gut feeling and just feel with your emotions, because all of our past memories and choices are up. So what we want to do is we want to lead with our emotions, right? And then we want to go and put it in context with our head, because then our head's like, that's what's going on, I get it. And then we embody it here on earth, right? So number two is put your emotions first and trust them. They are 5,000 times more intelligent than your brain. Brains don't like to hear that, but it's true. Okay, number three, knees bent, body ready to shift. We're going to receive and adapt and respond. So she's not locked up. She's relaxing with it. And if you've played sports, hey, I was a softball player for years. I've got a 3-year-old granddaughter who, when she sees me, drops everything and runs full speed into me, and everything goes like knees bent. Get ready, because I have to be able to pull this body in and hug it and not fall over. Because if I'm rigid and I'm not paying attention, she can knock me over, right? So what we want to do is we want to soften and get into response mode and accept whatever comes in instead of reacting, right? Because we're in our observer and response, not fear and reaction. Okay, so that's number three, knees bent, body ready to shift. Number four, rest. Rest, rest, rest. Ask your body what it needs. Because when we've got to be able to resist getting out there and doing something. Like every part of me thought I'm, FOMO, there's everybody out listening to music. I want to get on my bike. I want to, and what I have to realize is that that's not what my body needs right now. What I need to do is check in with my body, use my yes or no's and say, what do you need right now? All of my attention is on you and I understand, right? And so rest. And number five is compassion, to have self-compassion, which is, wow, I don't even know what's going on. I don't know how to move with this, right? I don't understand. And we're just learning. We have to learn how to transition through these three, right? That this isn't an easy process, yet when we get to here, this is where we're going, because this is the priestess energy where I see everything, I feel everything, I understand it as it comes in, I process it in my human body beautifully, right? And to have compassion for those that are in fear, that are in pain. It's going to be your parents, it's going to be your friends, it's going to be those who have addiction issues and are so removed from doing their work that this is the only thing that's going to help them. So have compassion that this is a very, very hard time. Now, I got a question just before I leave. Is it better to go outside and be in the sun? I don't think the sun has much to do with whether or not we're safe or not safe as much as our internal reaction to it. So what I like to do is be outside and hear the birds. Sometimes I'll sit in the shade, sometimes I'll bask in the sun for a little while. Like after I finish this, I'm going to go down to the lake and take a swim. So I don't know. The answer is ask your body what it needs and if it's okay. So I'll leave it at that. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. And I've been really good at responding. And have a great Sunday and week. And I will see you next Sunday. Take care.